He pulled that trigger on my forehead. There wasn't a scratch on me. And you sit there and you're just like, what just happened? And so finding out who this guy is, he's actually doing life in prison right now because he killed somebody else. And he's been shot like 8 different times. He shot at other people before. So I didn't even know who I was dealing with at that time. But that's what happened. I mean, I'm sitting there just like completely in awe, like, wow, I'd be dead right now, but I'm not,
So
you
you're,
know?
it was right here.
What if the moment you faced death was actually a moment of divine intervention? I'm Michelle Wargo, and this is What If God is Actually Listening? In this episode, a chilling encounter with a gunman becomes part of a powerful story of survival and faith. A reminder that even in our darkest hours, God's hand may be guiding us toward a greater purpose. This story is about fate, faith, and the mysterious ways God moves in our lives. Please welcome my guest, Adam Frano, the man with 9 lives.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many different things throughout my life. I think as a kid growing up and mm, just trying to figure out who I am, like what's my purpose. And then in the midst of that, you're just like, you feel all this like, I have no purpose. I feel like I'm not worth anything. I don't feel like what's the point of me being here? You
Yep.
know? And you try to find that self identity and you just find all the things that you don't like about yourself. So then
Yes.
you just you just end up dwelling in that for
And
years,
then it's
it
just,
feels like.
it's like quicksand and it just pulls you
Yeah,
down. And then you
right.
attract more people who are in that negative
Yes.
place. And it's
Yes.
just terrible, terrible,
Oh,
terrible.
it's an ugly time.
Yeah.
And it's usually during those 20s, like you're trying to figure out who you are, the teens and all that stuff. You were at home and going through school and all that different stuff. So all this stuff was happening quickly and you just didn't know how to process it. So you just came out in different ways. But when you get into your 20s, it's like you're just trying to figure out who you are and like, why don't I fit in all these molds of these systems and people and
And
stuff,
what you were told that you were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just not working. So you're like, well, I must be messed up. I must have all these issues. People don't like me, or I'm not married, or I don't have kids, or you start thinking about all these different things of why I'm not what everyone says I'm supposed to be. You know, and you start going on this journey of trying to discover who you are. And I think
Mm.
it takes more like into your 30s where you start to wake up and go, okay, all the stuff that I was thinking for the past so many years and dwelling in was a waste of time and energy
A
because
hundred percent.
I'm not all these different things.
Yeah.
And you start just concentrating on the things that you're good at and you start realizing, hey, maybe I'm not good at these other things and that's okay.
That's okay.
And yeah, and you start coming to peace with yourself and how you were created and who you are and what you're good and what you're not good at. And you try to just stick in the things that you're good at. And you try to be around people who inspire you and who, help, motivate you and help you just stay in the things that you're good at,
So
and
did
that you're happy.
you were you raised Christian? Were you raised Catholic? Were you raised non-denominational? Were you raised Jewish? Like, what was your religious background?
So my grandparents were actual pastors.
Okay.
And my parents didn't want anything to do with church, actually.
Makes sense.
So yeah,
One way, the other way.
they grew up in church their whole life. They were there, 2, 3 nights a week, every Sunday, Wednesday, different speakers would come in, they were there. So like they were pastor kids, so they were there all the time. And my dad said he OD'd on church pretty much. He just like was done with it. By the time he turned 18, he was out of the house. He's like, I'm not going back. So I did not grow up in the church. I did not grow up with it around me that much, other than when I would go to grandma and grandpa's house. That was the only
Mm.
time that it would be around and that they would talk about it, that we would pray before we'd eat. If I stayed at grandma and grandpa's house and it was over the weekend, we had to go to church on Sundays, you know. And so that was the only real influence I had growing up, of any kind of God or Jesus or any of that stuff, because I didn't understand it. Just didn't
Yeah.
get it. I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe there was something. I just didn't know what that was, you know. Um, but once I was out of high school, I met a group of people that were in a business that where they were, they were helping other people in their lives and making extra money and different stuff. And so I got involved, and we went to this like weekend conference thing, and I was dating this girl. Her name was Danielle, who's my wife today, but we were both there, and we both went to this conference, and we were just excited about it. We were like learning how to, you know, make money and, be successful in life and figure out ourselves, all this different stuff there. But on the Sunday morning, they said, "Hey, come back Sunday." Well, during the weekend, they kept saying, "Come back on Sunday morning, and we're going to tell you the truth of how to be successful in life." And the truth and the truth. And we're like, okay, what's this truth? We go there, and there's like a non-denominational worship service that was going on. And we're just like, oh, this is like church.
Lots
Okay.
of
So
singing.
yeah. And it was, I mean, there's like 20,000 people in this conference. So like it's a big stadium. And this guy goes up there and starts talking about his relationship with Jesus. And he says, the real reason I'm successful in life has nothing to do with money and items and all this other stuff. It's all about Jesus. And he talked about this whole journey of how he found Jesus and how that changed his life, his marriage, his relationship with his kids, like everything. And at the time, I was such a mess, and I was all over the place in my life. I mean, I literally was a mess. I was addicted to a lot of different drugs. Um, I was drinking all the time. I wasn't happy with myself. I was dealing drugs. I was in a lot of different situations where I should have died and I didn't. Car accidents, I've been shot at, all this different stuff was happening. I was in and out of juvenile detention centers growing up, and like I was just a mess. I was on probation. Um, and all of that was like coming to this halt of this moment because I'm sitting there listening to this guy talk about everything changed. It was like this pivotal moment in his life where everything changed when he just accepted Jesus into his life and he started to walk that out. And I went,
Ooh, I'm getting
I'm
chills.
like, this can't be real. I'm like, come on. And it's like pulling me, and it's
Hmm.
everything from my childhood that my grandparents would be saying. And like all these different blips were running through my mind of like, this is real. This is real. This is the moment. And literally, he was about to say like, and if anyone wants to accept Jesus, come down front and accept him now into your heart. And before he even said it, I stood up and I was running down there. And I ran down there. My wife, or my girlfriend at the time, Danielle, we both ran down there, and we both accepted Jesus right there at that stage. And we turned around. I remember at one moment, and there was 4,000 people behind us. Like it was insane. Like all these people were down there accepting Jesus for the first time. At least that's what we were thinking. And it was just, we were blown away by it. And we were just sitting there like crying, and we're just like, wow,
Mm. The Holy
just like,
Spirit.
yeah, we're just
Yeah.
blown away. We were just blown away. You just had chills running through your body, and you're just like, wow. And from that day forward, we're like, okay, like we're gonna start making different choices in our life. And we started to sit down and like write out the things, the pros and cons of our life, the good things that we had, the things that we needed to remove out of our life, just started to go through and dissect the things and try to make better choices.
Mhm.
Mm. But even in the midst of that, once you get saved, that doesn't mean everything goes away
Right.
at all.
You
And
have that moment where
yes,
like you feel a part of something that you've never felt a part of before. And it
right,
like feels that it fills the hole that you didn't know that you had. Like that's what you
right,
were trying to fill with drugs and with,
right.
all of the things was that emptiness inside. So you had the Holy
Hmm.
Spirit touch you and fill that void for a second. And you're like, "Oh, I get it now." But
Yeah,
then that you don't have that moment all the time. Like that
right,
was your moment. And
right.
now you got to
Yeah,
chase
and
that moment again.
now I got to go and walk it out. Now I have to go see how to build a relationship with Jesus. It's one thing to accept Jesus, but to walk it out and start to uh, figure out how Jesus can work, and we can build this relationship together in my life and through my situations, is a totally different thing. And how do I apply him into everything in my life? And so I had to get involved in stuff. I got involved with like men's Bible studies at church, and we started going to a church, and Danielle got involved with the women's Bible studies. We found mentors in our life that actually sat down and like would, talk to us like real talk and help us to kind of get through our, you know, our roadblocks in life. That was huge because we were so young and just trying to figure it out. you
Hmm.
know and we read books, and we were learning about the scriptures and just how to apply those to our situations. But we also really got into like spiritual warfare books, like how to like really get rid of the junk that was going on around us, because we know that there's another world that's kind of happening around us that we don't understand or can't see, and we needed to know how to walk in that and around that so that these things weren't continuing to mess us up in life, you
Yeah,
know?
once you I mean, I guess it sounds basic, but once you follow the light, right? All of the
Hmm.
darkness starts. First, they try to grab onto you and keep you there, right? They
Right.
don't want to let you go. But the more that you align yourself with, like you said, mentors and
Hmm.
volunteering and reading and scripture, and the more that you sink into it, then now you're over here and they can't touch you anymore. I mean,
Right.
they'll keep trying to come at you and bring you back, but it's not like when you were down
Sure.
there and you were surrounded. I talk with my hands a lot. So.
Yeah, me too. I'm Italian, so that's gonna happen a lot.
Same.
Yeah. No, that's it. It is. It's like you have to put yourselves in a place where you're starting to walk it out in a way that these things can't come at you again. It's a lot easier to walk with Jesus when you start to apply these things into your life and position yourself so you're not so like easily accessed, like hanging out with the wrong people, that were bringing you down and just wanted to go out drinking and all these other things before. Um, you
Because
know,
that's who you were to them. They don't want you to be who you are or the best
right,
you. They want you to be
right.
this guy.
Yeah. I mean, somebody taught me a long time ago. He's like, take the top five people that you hang out with, and that's who you are. That's your personality. That's the type of things that you usually like, all that stuff. Like you are who you associate with. And
Right.
so I started to look at that and go, man, I really need to take that serious, who I'm associating with, who I'm going to be around, because, you know, that could affect who I am. If you hang out with people who smoke cigarettes, most likely you're going to smoke cigarettes. You know what I mean? Like, or nowadays it's vaping. I guess we're
Yeah.
old. Nobody says cigarettes anymore, but
Well, I mean, some people still smoke cigarettes.
yeah, 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 some,
They happen
some,
to be in
yeah,
their 40s, but whatever.
right, yeah, but
So you,
yeah.
Adam, you've had some harrowing experiences. I remember seeing a post that you did. It was probably a couple years ago on Facebook where you were trapped in a van and you almost died, right?
That was a so that was a joke. That was like I was in a plumbing van, um, and because that's what I do for a living, and the van doors were frozen, and I
Right.
couldn't
So
get
like
out.
I thought it like I live in Florida now. So like hearing that you got frozen shut
Yeah, yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh
No,
my
no,
God, this
no.
poor man is going to die in the back of this
No.
truck because
Yeah,
he's
it
stuck
was.
in there."
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I stuck a pipe through and just kind of started honking the horn because I couldn't get out the door. But yeah, it was just I got into the van and the door slammed shut and there was no way out that back door, and the side door was frozen shut, and there's like a cage that gets to the wheel, and there was just no way for me to get out. I tried calling the customer, nothing. So eventually, after 20 minutes, I eventually got out. But yeah, that was just a fun video I did, you know.
I
But
mean, for some people that's enough time for them to be like, "Okay, this is I die here. This is it." Some
yeah,
people just give up and they're like, "Well, that was fun."
yeah, yeah. No. But like in my journey with different situations and stuff with life or death or stuff, you know there was a moment like when I was selling drugs and stuff, that I tell people the story is, um, I was doing a drug deal with somebody, and they came in the house, we did the deal, and afterwards he literally looked at me and he goes, now where's my money? I gave you money, like, and he goes, no, you stole my money. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I didn't steal his money. He started getting angry, like he was serious. And I thought he was joking.
So wait, he came
And
into your house because you were selling out of your house? Or you went
This
to their
apartment.
house?
He
Okay.
came into this apartment that we were in,
Okay.
and yeah, he started to act like I stole his money. And at first I thought he was joking, but then he looked like he was pretty serious because he started to come towards me like pretty angry. And my brother was there, and my friends, like a couple of them were there. Well, eventually he pulls out this gun and he points it at my chest. And I kind of back up a little bit, and the wall is right behind me. And I back up to it, and he's got this gun on my chest. And he's like, "You better give me my money. I know you stole my money." And I'm like, "Dude, I didn't steal your money. Like, I don't know what your problem is, whatever." And then it just escalated more and more. And now I'm getting a little angry because I'm like, he's accusing me of stealing money, and I didn't even do it. And this is how dumb I was at that time. I said
You
to him, I
weren't
said,
even thinking about the gun.
well, I just said, if you're going to pull out the gun, go ahead and pull the trigger. Because at that time, I didn't even care about my life. I didn't care. And here I am telling this guy with a gun on my chest to pull the trigger, who I don't even know. I don't even know him. He go ahead and he cocks the gun back and he puts it right on my forehead. And I'm pinned against the back wall. And I could feel that barrel. I could still to this day remember that barrel sitting on my forehead. And he's sitting there and he's looking at me and he's all angry. He's got that barrel of that gun right on my forehead. And all of a sudden, he pulled the trigger, instantly fell to the ground and grabbed my face. My face was all numb because of the impact of that
Mhm.
explosion on my face, but I could kind of feel it. And my eyes, I couldn't see that well because this big flash just went off in front of my face. My ears were pinging because a gun
Mhm.
just went off in the house, right on my forehead. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to come to, and I'm on the ground, and I look up at him and he's standing over top of me, kind of in shock because I didn't have any blood. I didn't have anything on me. I didn't even get shot. He actually shot me. He pulled that trigger on my forehead and it didn't go past me, didn't anything. After we got up, because he ran out the door after that. He took
Yeah, because
off.
what kind of superhuman are you? Because you should be dead.
Yeah, I mean, he was in shock. I was in shock. My friends, my brother, all in shock because they thought I was dead. They thought that
Right.
was it. I was done. Um, get up and we look. There's a hole in the wall that goes into the bathroom, and the bullet was sticking in the tile in the bathroom. No joke. So the bullet, the gun, everything was real. He pulled that trigger on my forehead. There wasn't a scratch on me. And you sit there and you're just like, what just happened? And so finding out who this guy is, he's actually doing life in prison right now because he killed somebody else. He's been shot like 8 different times. He shot at other people before. Uh, so I didn't even know who I was dealing with at that time. But that's what happened. I mean, I'm sitting there just like completely in awe, like, wow, I'd be dead right now, but I'm not,
So
you
you're,
know?
it was right here.
Yeah. Oh, that thing was right on my forehead. I could feel the barrel touching my forehead when he pulled that trigger.
That's where my brain tumor was.
Yeah.
Like right there.
Yeah.
That's weird. Maybe
Yep.
it went like and
Mm.
I don't know what to think about that. Holy moly.
Yeah.
So like immediately after that happens, right? Your ears are still ringing. You're on the floor. Everybody's running over to you like thinking that you're dead. And like you said,
Hmm.
there's no blood. What are you thinking in that minute? Like did
Be,
did did you have a realization when you saw the bullet more so
yeah, I think
than
once it all sunk in, um, we're sitting there and even thinking like, man, how did that even happen? Did something move me? I'm trying to even think, did I move my head? Did I do anything? And even my brother and my friend that was there, they were both like, man, like you literally were just standing there. Cause I was so like, if you're gonna pull out a gun, pull the trigger. It was just kind of like, whatever, man. I didn't think he was gonna do it. I didn't think anything of it. And I was just being dumb and saying something stupid to a man with a gun. And he pulled the trigger. And so I don't know, um, to this day exactly what happened, other than something protected me. Something in that moment, I wasn't supposed to die. And something moved that bullet from going right through my forehead, and killing me in an instant. And I know at that point right there, I would have been dead. and I didn't even accept the Lord in my life at that time. So I
Yeah,
would
I
have
was
been,
just gonna say. So even after that, you're like, whatever, and then you just keep rolling
yeah,
through.
yeah. And so these were the things that were leading up to like me getting saved. It was just like one thing after another of stuff that was happening was just like, okay, enough's enough. Like, obviously, something is trying to tell me something, you know?
You think?
And so even car accidents, I mean, everything that has happened, I mean, they've had to use jaws of life to pull me out of vehicles before,
So how many
because of,
lives are you on now? So that's
yeah.
at least two, right?
That's what my kids tell me. They're like, Dad, you're like a cat. You have 9 lives, right?
Yeah. Let's try
Because
to keep it to eight. Let's not get to nine.
yeah,
Let's stay solid.
yeah. But in my journey with the Lord, things started to change in me, and I started to serve a lot more with a calling to serve youth and young adults. Like that was a
Mm,
big part of my life is in the last 15 years is I felt led to hang out with the youth, and young adult ages are usually after high school to about 30, and that age of where they're, like we talked about earlier, where you're just trying to figure out who you are and what your purpose is, and,
You're
what you're
just
going to
kind
be
of
doing.
lost and you're bumping into
Yeah.
things and you're like, all right, I'll
Yeah.
try
You're
this.
all
Oh,
over the place.
yeah.
Yeah. And so doing that, my wife and I, we started a young adults ministry uh, years back, and we just started it real small with like 15 of us. And it quickly grew into like 250 young adults coming from all over the place. People were driving an hour or longer just to come and gather every Tuesday night at this building, because we just opened it up for everyone that was just like that 18 to 30 age range, who was just looking for connections and looking for people their age, didn't want to go out to the bars and that whole scene to find people and hang out with people, and wanted to learn and grow in their walk with the Lord, you
Hmm.
know. And so we started this thing and it just blew up. And we would have these different worship bands from different churches. We'd have different pastors from different churches. It was just open to whoever wanted to come and gather and just kind of grow and change together and connect with one another. And it was pretty cool because we saw people coming and just coming with their stuff, and they would come to the altars during worship, and you would just see people getting rid of the anxiety that they had forever, and the depression, and like the things that was just weighing down on them, the addictions and the suicide stuff, and just all the mental stuff, like just the things that they were dealing with in life. We would see them come to the altars, and I remember I would just sit there on Tuesday nights and tears would be rolling down my eyes, and I'm standing there just watching God just move in people's lives and
Hmm.
watch them just get rid of all that stuff that's just not real, you know, and it's not them. And
And
then
that's
we
what
would,
everyone gets obsessed with and stuck on that
yeah,
wheel. And
yeah,
it takes somebody like you to say, hey,
oh,
guess what? You can stop
yeah,
this. Come on over here.
yeah.
We can show you the way.
And that's what we felt led to do. It was like, let's just have a place where it's not about us. Adam and Danielle weren't doing anything fancy or doing anything amazing. We literally just said, God, have your way with these people. They're your people. We'll put out the event. We'll set up the agenda of the band and the speaker and all that stuff. And you just do what you want to do here. And we would see, 150, 250, all these different weeks. It would just be so many different people coming in from all over the place with all the different stuff going on, and we'd just be in awe of what God would do in that place. And it
How
was
did you spread
amazing
the word?
through social media. Like we were literally just putting it out on social media, but then all those young adults would go back to their churches, or they would tell their friends that don't go to church. They're like, hey, you got to come Tuesday night, such and such place. And we just have all these people that just kept hearing about it, and the buzz just kept getting bigger and bigger because it wasn't like a regular church service. Like we literally would have it completely different in a way that like if God was moving in that place, like you felt the tangible presence of God, that we wouldn't stop it. Like we would just let it go. And we wouldn't be like, okay, well now it's time for a message. And so it wasn't like an order, you know. It wasn't like, okay, now we're gonna do the announcements. We only have 15 minutes to do worship, and now we're gonna do, a 20-minute message, and then we're gonna pray it out and be done. It
Right.
was whatever you want to do, Lord, have your way with your people. We would see God just move every week. I mean, we had heroin addicts that would come with their needles and their bags, everything, and we would break it up and flush it down the toilets. Like we had prostitutes coming in there and getting rid of all this stuff. And like we just had so many different addictions and different life issues and stuff that they had going on. And we would just see them coming up and changing their lives and making better choices. And you would see these people coming back every week and you would just see the light come into them. You just see this different look in
Hmm.
them, you know, of joy and purpose. And that became our purpose was like, okay, we're going to see the best in them. So they're coming in all ugly and all the stuff, the junk and everything that they're coming in and they're not happy and miserable. Well, we're going to look at them and we're going to bring out the things that are awesome about them. Like, let's get in there and figure out what makes you great. What is your purpose? What makes you like there's things about you, Michelle, that are different than me. And there's
Yep.
things about me that are different than you. And so it's like that's the beautiful thing about it. None of us are exactly the same. Like we all have different talents and abilities. And so we just got to figure out what those are that makes us unique and how can we do that to help other people to figure out their stuff, you know? And so we started doing that. We started just helping people figure out their purpose in life. And that became our purpose. And
Hmm.
when we did that, we didn't have to like continue to string them along and all this stuff. Man, once they figured out their purpose, their God-given purpose in life, it was like, let them go. Like they were just, it was like they were on fire. It was like from that point on, they could stand up straight and move on in life and be able to be happy and find their place, you know?
I think it all goes back to like what we were talking about earlier, right? Is that we all, they say, we've been separated from God's love, right? Like that's what we feel. That's that emptiness. And
Hmm.
I feel like when people finally stop fighting it and just say, okay, I know I'm not worthy, but please just is there somebody there? Even if you just
Yeah.
like even just anything, if you just open yourself up a itty bitty bit
Yeah.
and, and let the light in, you'll see crazy changes.
Right. Yeah, because I get people all the time that are just like, how do you know God's real? Like, how do you just know? Like, you see all this stuff on social media, people debating on whether he's real or not, and I can't just sit here and put something in my hand and be like, that's God right there. And, and just show you exactly what it is. Mm. But the only way I can explain it a lot of times is like when um, when I knew I loved Danielle and she was my wife and she was the one. When people go, well, how do you know your wife's the one?
Mm.
I just knew. Like there wasn't some like, thing that just perfectly put it all together. It wasn't this perfect science and theorem, like all this stuff. It was,
Pros, cons. She's got
yeah, you
90% in
just
this column, 80.
inside, yeah, in deep inside, you just know when you know.
Mhm.
And I knew after I met Danielle within 2 weeks, it was just like, I knew I'm going to marry this girl. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like it just hit me. Like I'm like, I know I'm gonna marry this person. And I just knew I knew. Like it was like that. And it's the same way with God. It's like when that encounter happens, you just know it. You're just like, wow, there is nothing else that this could be other than him, you
Mhm.
know? And you
So
just know.
the people who have asked you that, then have they, you, like, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it, right?
Mhm,
So if you're
sure.
looking to deny it and to be like, well, God doesn't exist, well, then God's not going to
Right.
be like, hey, here I am. You've got to open yourself up to that experience. So how do you help people move through that?
Well, I mean, obviously it's their own choice. That's the beautiful thing about God is he doesn't force himself on you. People think that, but like he's just
That's
standing
Old
there.
Testament God.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's just sitting there at the door, and he's just waiting for you to open it. And you're going to keep walking through life through these different things and challenges and unhappy and all of this different stuff. And it's totally up to you. He gives you the free will to choose to love him, even though he's going to love you regardless. You know, he's going to love you along the way, whether you hate him, whether you completely despise him, when you want nothing to do with him. He's going to love you regardless of that.
So
He's
has
just
being
sitting
a
there.
father changed your perception of things? Because like
Sure.
the way that you're explaining that, it's like, I mean, I don't have kids, but you have a bunch of
Yeah.
kids. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's just sitting there with his arms wide open, right? He's just sitting there like this the whole time. And when you're crying, I believe God's just sitting there with tears and he feels and he
Mhm.
understands your pain. And he's just sitting there waiting for you with his arms wide open. And all you have to do is just walk over there and say, like, I'm sorry, or like, and just let him hug you. Like, let him just hug you like a father and watch the release of all of that stuff that is just junk and fake and not real go away. And in an instant, it'll go away. I promise you. But then you got to obviously walk it out into a brand new relationship with, and that takes time, and that goes into going into stuff, into the junk, and
Mm.
you know, and through the process of life, you know.
Well, the dark night of the soul, right? That's what they say, right?
Yeah. But it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Like you're doing it to get to this place of joy and happiness. I try to explain it as like everyone has, I don't know where you're at, but like in Erie, like we have basements, right? And everything in the basement's junk. There's just
That's
suitcases,
my
there's
garage.
boxes. Yeah, there you go. And it's just full of stuff. And every time you have a bunch of stuff, you just put it in there, right? And every time you go down there, it kind of gives you like this, oh, it's this overwhelming feeling of junk and just so much stuff that you collected that you don't even go through anymore, right?
Mhm.
Well, and that's your life right there. It's all in the basement there and all in the garage. You just keep adding stuff. You don't want to deal with it. You just keep putting it in a pile. It keeps piling up, right? Well, eventually it's like, okay, I can't deal with all this. So I need to go down there and deal with it. And one box at a time with a mentor, with other people, we dealt with all the stuff. And as we throw away things, we organize things. Now, when we go down in our basement, it's this tiny little pile in the corner of junk because you still have stuff.
Mhm.
You're never perfect. So you still have stuff down there. But now when I go down there with something new, I don't feel of all the weight of the past 20 years of stuff that I never even dealt with. Now I'm going down there and going, okay, I can deal with this box now. I can deal with this now and not have to feel like I can't deal with anything else in life. You know?
Did you
Does that make
find
sense?
any push? Oh, 100%. Like, and that's
Okay.
what I want people to know, right? Is like if you just sit in it, right? Just sit in it. Like you
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable, so you go to the bar and you start drinking or whatever it is, right? If you instead just gave yourself an hour to sit in that pain that you've been trying to drink away, the next time it's not going to be as hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
just sit there. Just sit with it. Just feel your feelings because
Yeah.
that's showing you the way, right? If you can feel
Hmm.
it, you can heal it. And
Yeah.
there's a reason that you're sad. There's a reason you have anxiety. There's a reason you're depressed. Something you didn't deal with. Like,
Yeah.
go deal with it.
Yep. Yeah. The Bible talks a lot about our hearts, and our hearts need to change, and it's a heart thing. And so Mm. It all starts with the heart, and I believe a lot of the stuff that we harbor and all the stuff that, we're angry with and all we're bitter and all that stuff, it all comes down to us really letting go of all these things, and it
Well,
opens
because
our
then,
heart.
like you said, because then it turns into self hate, right? So
Hmm.
not only like okay you don't like yourself, you don't care if you live or die, but then you really
Right.
start to hate yourself. Like you don't
Hmm.
look in the mirror and be grateful for breathing. You wake up and you're like, oh f this, I don't want to be
Right.
here, I don't want to do this,
Right.
like whoa. And
Yeah.
it's a sickness. It's like you get addicted to hating yourself, and it
Hmm.
just gets worse and worse and worse, and you try
Yep.
to treat it with whatever you can find,
Yep.
and none of those things are the way. Like
Yeah.
literally just sit in it or ask the universe, God, angels, spirit, whoever you believe in.
Yeah.
Just ask for help.
Yeah.
Let them show
Well,
you
and
the way.
and even in the midst of like when you have these things worked out and you have joy and you start to walk out differently. So we're running this big large ministry, like life is good, I got 4 kids, like life, we're like things are happy, it was like in a good place, right? And I remember I was 36 years old, and we're doing like this charity football game thing where we were gonna raise some money for a family and stuff, and it was like a flag football type of style turkey bowl, it was called, on Thanksgiving. And so, but we weren't doing flag football. We were playing tackle football, but we weren't really like hitting each other hard. But on this certain play, I'm running with the ball and I get tackled on my side and I go to the ground. Well, all of a sudden it felt like the left side of my body was completely numb and I couldn't even
Mm.
get up. And I'm sitting there like, what's wrong? I felt paralyzed. And I'm telling people I can't move. Like I can't move. And they're like, should we call an ambulance? And I think like I think so. And so, people are thinking, oh man, he broke his back or something, right?
Mhm.
And so ambulance come, they rush me to the hospital, they throw me into a CT scan. They come back in the room and they look at Danielle and I and they were just like, um, do you know you have a tumor the size of a softball connected to your kidney? I was like, wait, what? They're like, wait, you didn't know? I'm like, no, I didn't know.
How would you
And
know?
yeah, well, they're saying you should have all these side effects. Like they were just telling me, going
Oh,
down this
all the
whole list of
symptoms.
things. Yeah. Of like, oh, here's all the things that should be happening that you would know that you have a softball sized tumor connected to your kidney. And I'm sitting there like, what are you talking about? And they showed me the scan and this thing's a mass. You couldn't even see my kidney anymore. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna have to test this thing and see if it's cancerous, all this stuff. So they did a
Mhm.
biopsy, it comes back, of course, it's cancer. And they're like, all right, you have cancer. And I'm like, okay, what do we got to do now? And they're like, well, we're gonna go ahead and remove that tumor. And it looks like we're gonna have to remove your kidney as well. Mm, and we'll get rid of it. And then after you heal up, we'll do another test and make sure we got everything. I'm like, okay, great. So they went ahead, did the surgery. They removed my kidney. They removed that tumor. They pulled it all out of there. When they pulled it out, they said it was the size of a football. That it was so big. Yeah. And so it was pretty crazy. But
Thank God you were playing football.
yeah, yeah. And that was the other thing. It's like if I didn't get tackled in that, the doctor said, he goes, man, somebody must have been looking out for you because if you didn't find out that that was there, he's like, you'd just been doing a plumbing job or just walking around one day and just fell over, and that would have been the end of the story. And I'm like,
Mhm.
holy cow.
So what? That's live number 3.
Yeah, right. And so,
Your
so
your angels are working overtime, dude. Like I
big
don't
time.
know, but
Yeah, I'm gonna
you
go
had a
up there,
discussion. You're like, I'm gonna need the super angels to come down with me
right?
and make sure everything's okay. All right.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. But and then it's not even over yet. But like so I had the surgery, I did all that stuff. It took about 30 days of healing before they could do an actual another test because they want to make sure, they got everything. So I go back after 30 days, do a test. They do the whole scan of my whole body and everything. And that's when they sit down with Danielle and I and they're like, hey, listen, we did the scan and everything and we found some stuff. And I'm like, okay. They're like, it actually, after the surgery, it must have got into your bloodstream or whatever, but it spread everywhere. They were like, it's all across bladder area, it's in your lymph nodes. There was even spots in my lungs. Mm, it was back in that same area with the where the kidney was.
So was it kidney cancer that then metastasized, is what they're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it turned into stage 4 real quick. Stage
And
4
it
kidney
was in your
cancer.
blood, it was in your lungs, it was
Yeah,
just
it was everywhere. And so at that time, I'm like, okay, it's the same reaction to the other thing. I'm like, all right, what are we gonna do? Surgery, chemo,
Mhm.
radiation? Like, what do we do at this point? And he goes, this is the tough part. He's like, this is to the point of like, I can't do anything for you, and we can't do anything for you. Um, that this is actually going to take your life. Danielle and I were like, wait, what? He's like, yeah. um, there's no cure for this right now. Like, we don't have anything that we can do. We have some trial treatment stuff in there, like Pittsburgh and stuff like that, that you could try, but like, there's nothing out there that can stop this from doing what it's doing. It's taking over, and so when you hear something like that and you're a believer and you are like, doing all these things ministry wise, you say you're living your life the way you're supposed to be living. Why would God, do that? Right. You're like, what the heck, Lord? Like,
like, why did you save me just to give me this?
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Like, what's the purpose of this? You know? And so at first you're just like, what? Why would you do this? And you're kind of upset a little bit. Mm. and but I started praying about it and stuff. But I first thing I did is I got on the phone and I started calling different people, right? You call your parents, you call different people and you tell them, the news. You tell them what they found out because everyone's waiting to hear
Right.
what's the results. I call all these people and everyone starts crying, saying, "Oh my gosh," because the doctor did tell me, and I forgot to say this, that I had less than a year. He said I had about a year left to live. So he said, "Go
Wow.
spend your time with your family, spend your time because this is going to take your life. No surgery, no chemo, no radiation is going to be able to stop this thing." So I call on everybody and they're crying. They're like, "Oh my goodness, we'll be praying for you, all this stuff." I called my pastor, everybody. I got on the phone with my grandparents. Remember, I told you my grandparents were pastors.
Mhm.
And the second they said that this is going to take my life, my grandparents didn't react in fear. They weren't like everyone else. Be like, "Oh my goodness." They didn't start in tears. The second I said that, it rolled out of my mouth. They started going to prayer right over the phone, like instantly. My grandparents were praying and praying, like warring over the phone. I sat there with the phone like out like this on my side, and Danielle's on the bed. And I put it on the speaker, and we're both just bawling. Like I'm starting to
Oh
cry
my
now,
goodness.
just talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could feel the weight of everything. And as they're praying and warring over the phone for me, like just come off of me. Like all the anxiety of it, all the like the what ifs, all the stuff, the worry, the doubt, the fear just like came off of me as they're praying over the phone. And I'm sitting there like I'm feeling something happening in that moment. And it was just like chills running through your body, just like I feel it right now. And they're sitting there just warring over the phone for me. And they were praying and praying. um and so they just did a simple prayer like that, and it changed everything in my attitude. It changed everything in my walk. From that day forward, I had no fear of what was going to happen. Like instantly I felt like, okay, there's two things that can happen, and either situation is going to be a good thing. So it's a win-win. Either I'm going to get healed by God and stay here on earth, or I'm going to heaven, which isn't a bad place.
Right.
Like we're all afraid to go to heaven and die one day when we are not in control of that. Ultimately our time is when it is, and you know, and if we're for him and we love him and we accepted him and we lived for him, like we're gonna go to heaven. So for me, I'm like going, I'm not in control here. Like either God's gonna heal me here on earth or I'm going to heaven and where I'll be healed anyways. So it's like awesome as that. So I started walking around differently that day forward and talking about it and sharing it and just like my attitude about it. I was making jokes about it all the time, like all this stuff. It was just
That's my
about like
coping mechanism.
yeah, exactly, exactly. You got to joke around about it, Like the waitress would come up to the table and be like, "How's your day?" And she'd be like, it's not going so good." I'm like, "Well, I got cancer, so I don't
Oh,
know
so you're
about
doing
you."
pretty good.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it was crazy, but it changed my whole perspective, um, just in that instant. And I started going through the process, going to Cleveland Clinic. I went to the best kidney cancer doctor in the world. He was at Cleveland Clinic.
Mm.
I mean, he was an hour and a half away. And I go there and he literally looked at it all and said, "There was nothing I could do for you." The best kidney cancer doctor in the world, and he couldn't do anything for me, you know. Um, and then he sent me down to Pittsburgh. They wanted to do all these trial treatments with me, pretty much be like a lab rat that they were just
Mhm.
going to try stuff to see if it worked. But I kept not getting approved because I was so far along. I'd probably ruin their studies, So they kept denying me of these trial treatments. Well, eventually they were going to give me one, and literally I was scheduled to go down there to Pittsburgh on April 15th. And they literally were like, "Okay, you're going to come down, you're going to stay a whole week, and we're going to like pump you with all this solution stuff for like a week straight. And then you're going to be the sickest you've ever been in your whole life." I'm like, "Oh, that
Wow.
sounds awesome."
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm feeling like, it doesn't feel right. I don't feel like I should do this. I don't feel like I should be doing this. Well, wouldn't you know, I wake up April 15th and felt different that day. I felt like, so backstory is as I was getting worse, every month my health was getting worse. I lost a ton of weight. I was down to 130 pounds. I was like skin and bones. I had a cane to get around. I had so much pain because every scan was showing that the cancer kept growing and growing and growing and getting worse. I had so much pain on my stomach and my bladder area. It would
And then
hurt
you
so
can't
bad.
take anything for the pain, right? Because if you're
Well, no, they were giving me different pain meds to try to cope with the pain, but still it wasn't working very well at all. But yeah, it was a mess. I was down to 130 pounds with a cane walking around. I had pictures of it and videos, all that stuff. Everybody saw me in church. Everybody was seeing me all the time. Like, we're praying for you, like everybody was praying for me. I had like the world praying for me. I mean, it was wild how many people, because I just posted it. I just posted it out on Facebook and said, listen, here's my situation. I know I serve a big God, so I would love for you to join me and my family in prayer. And it just went everywhere. People were praying all over the place. And so I had people messaging me everywhere. But that morning I woke up and I felt different. I felt like I didn't need my cane. And I didn't really realize it. Some days were good, some days were bad anyway. So I'm like, okay, this is a good day. So I'm heading down to Pittsburgh and I kept telling Danielle, I'm like, man, they should do another scan. I just feel different today. I'm like patting my stomach and I'm not having any pain. So I get down there and I'm telling the doctor, like, I'm like, we need to do another scan. He's like, no, he's like, we're going to start this treatment soon,
mm,
blah, blah, blah. He wouldn't do it. Eventually, I talk him into doing a scan. He goes ahead and does a scan, and it takes him like an hour to come back from the scan. And usually he's back pretty quick.
this
Well, he
is
was
like
with,
what the viewers and listeners don't know is that Adam and I had a conversation that I did not hit record on, and this is very similar to a situation that I went through. So that's why I'm
yeah.
looking at him and smiling because I understand that.
Yes, yes. But he was sitting there with the radiologist, with other doctors, and they're looking at my scans from before and looking at them now. And he literally came up to me, he goes, Adam, he's like, I can't find 80% of your cancer. He's like, I've never seen anything like this before. But in areas where the cancer was the size of a quarter, is the size of an M&M, he's like, it's like impossible for that to happen. He's like, in areas where you had cancer, it's not even there anymore. He's like, you still have just this little bit of cancer left, but it's going away. And I'm sitting there and I'm laughing, and he's just like, I had this pick line thing that was in my chest.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
where they connect everything. He had that, and he's like, "Hey, I videotaped this too. I have it on video of him telling me all this stuff because I'm like, people are not going to believe me. So I'm
Mm.
like, say it again, like I'm videotaping it because I'm like, this is wild. Like, um, he doesn't even know how to explain it. He's just like, this is a 1 in 1,000th chance or whatever. He's like trying to explain it, and he's like, "You're getting better." And I had this whole thing going on at the time, like a not yet, like I'm not dead yet. One day I'll go to heaven, but not yet. And so I had a not yet t-shirt on. And I'm sitting there laughing and I'm just going, not yet. Holy cow, like he's healing me. Like this is crazy. It's actually happening. Like I read stories in the Bible of healings, and I've heard stories and YouTube videos of people being healed, and I'm wondering if it's true or not, and like miraculous healings and stuff. And I'm going, man, I've never really seen a miraculous healing, you know?
Yeah,
And
you
all of a
have.
sudden, it was like, boom, it was happening to me. And I'm like, this is crazy. And of course, I post that out on Facebook and it goes all over the place. And like, I'm telling all my family that it's getting better, and all that stuff. And it's just wild. But here's the crazy part. So I told you earlier that I got saved, that I went down front at a conference, right? And the date of that was April 15th, 2001. The morning I went down and 80% of my cancer was gone was April 15th, 2016. 15 years to the exact same moment, like literally the same morning, the same moment that I gave my life to Christ, that same within those hours that I gave my life to Christ, 15 years later on the dot was the moment that the guy came in and doctor comes in and says, your cancer's going away. Like, I was blown away when I realized that I gave my life to Christ, and that the exact same morning, 15 years later, that I was healed from cancer. And like,
It
you can't
makes you
even make it.
think,
Yeah, you
right?
can't even make
Like,
this stuff up. You're just like, what is going on here?
but
You
like
know?
they say, right, that in heaven, like a day, like our whole life is like a blink of an eye, right?
Right,
So it could
right.
have been the same day for him. The day that you got
Yeah,
saved was also the day that he decided to save you from
yeah,
cancer. But
yeah.
you had to go on that journey to get
You're
there.
right, right.
Like, ooh,
Yeah,
no.
it's wild. But even, after that, like every month I would go in and get another scan, and my cancer kept going away, getting better, getting better. My health started to gain weight. I didn't need the cane anymore. Like it started to get better and better. And it took about a year because in April 5th of the following year, 2017, I went and got a scan and I was 100% cancer free with no chemo, no radiation, no surgeries whatsoever. Just God. Like just prayers. Like it was wild.
Wow.
Like I prepared my own funeral.
Yeah.
Like you know how
From
wild that is? Like I prepared, like the doctor told me, he's like, prepare your funeral. He's like, make out your will. He's like, spend your time with your family. This is it.
right.
Like, imagine preparing your own funeral, like getting that all ready so your spouse doesn't have to deal with it before it happens. Imagine sitting there and like you have to make videos for your kids because you're like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be at your wedding in the future, and you're like talking
Right.
to them
Think
and
about
you're
all the
just like,
things.
yeah. And like I had this GoPro, I was going to make all these videos for my kids so that they could like look at these videos on their birthday that I couldn't be at and like their wedding day that I couldn't be at. And you know what was so awesome is last year in September, I got to walk my daughter down the aisle.
I saw the pictures on
Like,
Facebook.
you know how wild that is? It's just like you sit there and you go, man, somebody doesn't believe in God. You're just like, man, in that moment, I'm sitting there and both of us were crying because she wrote in her journal when she was 12 years old because I was going through the cancer. It's like, I don't know how one day I'm going to be able to walk down the aisle without my father being next to me. And I mean, she wrote that in her journal when she was 12. And then just years later, here I was walking her down the aisle. Like, it's just it's wild. It's a wild journey. You just never know where life takes you and how it takes you, but like you literally have to trust in the Lord like that he has it all under control. And then literally if you can get rid of the fear and the doubt and all of that stuff, Satan can't win. He can't take control. He can't do
Hmm.
anything in your life. He has no dominion in your life when you just live in that authority.
Exactly.
It's crazy, and it sounds simple and it sounds weird,
It's
but you have to
easy.
let go.
Yeah, it's very simple, but it's not easy, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
every day you have to surrender back again, and like some
Yes.
moments to moments, right? Because
Yeah.
you're like, no, I know I need to do this, and I've got this planned, and then this will happen, and it's like, wait a minute, oop,
Yep. Yep. There's a
slow
good
down.
book on that. I read a book called If Satan Can't Steal Your Joy, He Can't Steal Your Goods. It's a little book. And it's a great book because if he can't steal your joy, he can't take everything else around you. And it's all about that because when he takes your joy, he starts to change your attitude, your thought process, your self-worth, like everything
Yeah, the
about you.
downward spiral starts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody around you gets affected by your joy being disrupted. And so you start to lose your marriage, you start to lose your relationship with your kids, you start to lose your money, like all of this stuff starts to happen just based off of that. And so mm, people just don't realize like how we have that authority. And like if you start to understand that and walk in that, you'll definitely be able to be more victorious in your situations. You won't allow them to. They're still going to happen. Stuff's still going to happen, but it's how you react to it. It's all about your attitude, and your actions. And so, how you react to that is huge. It's
Well,
all about the outcome.
your reaction to getting the news, right?
Hmm.
I think is what made the difference, right? You and your
Sure.
grandparents, right?
Right.
Because you
Right.
were like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do. Like I feel like
Exactly.
that moment you just sort of surrender because it's in someone else's
Exactly.
hands. It's in
Exactly.
the surgeon's hands or it's in
Yep.
God's like it
Right.
all has nothing to do with you. You're just here.
Right. Right.
As
Yeah.
much as we love to think about ourselves as being so important, like
Yes.
no, we
We're
can't.
not in control.
We're not.
We really aren't. We're in control of our actions and our attitude. That's really it. We react to things and our attitude towards these things, and that's all we can really control. But the outcomes and all these different things, like, man, ultimately God is in control of all of that, and so it's just wild. It's crazy to think, but it's a beautiful thing when you really
Wow.
live that out.
I can't just wow. Like I wow.
Yeah.
I
It
can't wait
is.
for all the comments and the emails that we're gonna get after this episode because holy moly, Adam. Like I knew
Yeah.
you went through some stuff, but I didn't know, you know, that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was something else, but all these people witnessed it. They got to witness it firsthand of seeing how God moved through my life and through all the situations. So it was pretty incredible to see how God did all that. And so it helped a lot of people in their situation. So I went around speaking at different venues and churches and stuff,
Hmm.
just sharing the testimony, sharing what God did. I would show the before scans and the after and, videos and stuff just to show. And here's the proof. Like,
Right.
I'm not lying, this is it. I can't even make this stuff up. There it is. And what happened. And
And
so,
still through all of that, you were still helping others. Like you were still
yeah,
bringing others to God. You were
yep.
still going on your trips and raising money for other people. And do you think that that's maybe part of it too? Is just
Sure. I mean,
being
there's still more for
selfless
me to
through it?
do. Yeah,
Yeah,
and like even when I had the cancer, I was praying for people in the hospital.
yeah.
Like I'd see this lady in the hospital, in the hallway, and I'm just talk to her and then start praying with her. I got to hear all kinds of stories from people dealing with cancer. It's an ugly system. It's an ugly, you just take a number nowadays and you're just stuck in these waiting rooms. And,
Well, and you either get the treatment because you either get the treatment or you don't get the treatment based on what health
mhm,
insurance you have. Like I
yeah,
can't tell you how many friends have been sitting next to someone, made friends with someone, did not get they didn't get the treatment and they're no longer here because
yep,
they were, oh, it's not necessary. Excuse me, it's going to
yeah,
save my life. What do you mean it's not
yeah,
necessary?
I know. Yeah,
But
it's a wild, wild thing. And it's so unknown and it's so scary because you do feel all alone. When it happens to you and you're told you're gonna die, I tell people you go to this different place in your brain that you've never been before. Because you start thinking about things differently and you start seeing things differently. You're like, this could be it. It's just weird to think like this is the end of it all, you
because
know?
we take it for granted, right? we
Yeah.
think we think we're going to have tomorrow and that tomorrow is going to
Hmm.
be like today. And so when you're down in the dumps and you're like, oh, f this day, f tomorrow, f everything,
Right.
even then, like it could, like what are we doing? We have a fine amount of time and we
Yes.
waste it on dumb things like what kind of car I'm going to get, or
Yep. Yep.
is my house better than your house and should I
Yes.
lose 10 pounds? Like what
Right.
are we doing?
It doesn't even matter. That
It
stuff doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter. All that
Right.
matters is what, like how you make people feel, right?
Hmm.
How they remember you, the
Yeah.
difference that you make in this world, and the love that you show to yourself and to others. That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Right.
So stop
Yep.
worrying
I
about
love
everything.
I love believing in people more than they believe in themselves.
Yes.
Like
Well, we all,
you look
yeah.
at them and you just see something in them that they can't even see and you bring that out of them in a small moment. And when you do that, like that changes something in their life forever. Like if people would just go around looking at people instead of the negative things and the things they don't like about them or their flaws, like try to find the things that are beautiful about each person and like watch that beauty come out, you know?
That I call that the spark of God, right? Because
Mm,
even in people that you hate
hmm.
or dislike immensely, I was taught never
Yes.
to say hate. Um, but there's that spark of God in them too, right? So you have to love them even if you hate them
Right. Right.
because they
Oh
are
yeah.
manifesting their spark of God in a different way. That is not your way. Let them have their way. Let them be on their way. You can pray
Yep.
for them to be on their way out of your
Yeah.
space. But but it's that spark, right? And some people have
Right.
never been told like you're doing a good job or
Hmm.
I'm proud of you.
Yep.
Some people have never been hugged.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we
No,
don't we take
they
so
need
many
love.
things for granted. Like I've
Right.
got shoes. I know people who
Right.
don't even have shoes or
Yeah.
socks. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
No, I've been all over the world. My wife is a missions pastor. She leads teams, builds teams, and has one of the largest mission teams and funding in churches in this area. And we send teams every month all over the world. And so, like, literally next month, I'm going to Cambodia,
Yeah.
where I've been before, but there are women and children that are in sex trafficking. Like,
Mhm.
they don't have a choice, like, to live or die. Like, they don't have food, they don't have money, they don't have anything, and they're rented out every night. They go in these vans, they're taken to places, they're rented out, and then they come back and they have money and they have food to feed their children, right? And it's a sick thing. It's a sick system over there. And like, if people were to see how people live over there and how these kids have no choice, it's crazy. And so we're taking a team over there next month. We do it every year. We take a team every year to go over there. And there's an organization there that's there 24/7 that buys up different buildings and apartments and different stuff and actually houses these women and children, gets them off the streets and helps teach them a trade to like
Mhm.
making items, different stuff so they could sell that, get jobs, get a house, or get an apartment, and stuff, and get
Just
them off the
anything.
streets.
Yeah, get them
Yeah,
off
and
the
get them out of that
streets.
system. But it's crazy because you see these little kids. We're talking like 8-year-old kids and like 4-year-olds and stuff. And you see like little newborn babies where the family are renting out their newborn baby, and that person rents them out and drugs them with like rubber cement glue and puts it over their mouth till they get all drugged out and they're like this in their arms drooling and they say, my baby's sick, I need money, I need money. They come up to your car like, my baby's sick, and it's not even their baby. They rented the baby and they drugged up the baby just to make money. Like, that's the sick world that is out there. Like, you
Oh
go
my
over there and you
God.
see that, and you come home and you're like, man, we have no clue over here how good we have it.
No, we
Like,
don't.
it's wild when you go to these third world countries. Like, I've been to all kinds of different places. I was just in Colombia last year, and and even here in America, I've been to different places like Philadelphia of all places. We just went to, and there's a whole like part of the city that is just like zombies walking around because they're all on heroin. It's just
Yep.
like, it's just crazy. Kensington is wild down there. It's like a zombie apocalypse. Like, people are just walking everywhere, hunched over and stuff on drugs, and nobody's doing anything. It's wild, wild.
It's
But
yeah. It's
yeah,
systemic problems for sure. So
yeah, yeah. But when you see that stuff, and I had all my kids have all been on different mission trips. I told them all, like, you got to go at least once. Everyone should at least go somewhere once to see what's out there going on in some of the worst parts of the world.
I mean, even if somebody just if like this was a thing that my mom always said. She's like, there's all these rich people and they're all very
Yeah.
unhappy with themselves. And I've known people who were raised in money, ended up taking their own lives, like and how that affects other people because they had no purpose, right? But if
Hmm.
if they had just maybe gone to the soup kitchen or gone and volunteered one day
Right.
somewhere with someone less fortunate, then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I have a lot.
Right. Right. It really opens your eyes
And
up.
then it gives you feel good because you did something good for someone else,
Hmm.
right? So then that
Right.
feeds that. And then you
Hmm.
go volunteer more because you don't need to make money because you have tons of money. You
Right.
can go spend your days making life better for other people. What a
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah. It is something about when you take the eyes off yourself and you put them on other people, it starts to set you free. It starts to change your heart, starts to
Mhm.
change your mind, and like, things start to change in your life and how you look at things, how your perspective of life is, and all of that. But you literally just have to stop being so selfish minded, stop just thinking about yourself for a moment and look at other people. Like, I love going to Walmart, or like we're out to eat, and I just look around the room. I take a moment and I just look around, look at somebody, and I just get this sense like something's not right. Like, they're just not happy, or like maybe they're broke, or maybe they don't have the money for their groceries, or whatever is going on. And I love just reaching down in my pocket, walking up to that person and blessing them
But
with
see that
whatever.
because you're open to that. Because I
Yes.
talked about this before in like another episode, was that, people would like stop by at someone's house and be like, oh, God told me to give you $200 or whatever. And you're like,
Yeah.
what? What?
Yeah.
But like, because you're open to receiving the
Yes.
messages, you're feeling it, right? Like, people give off energy and you're seeing, okay, this person, all right, I'm called to go make a difference with this person. And
Yeah.
even if the people are like, what are you? Like, ugh.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
later they're like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah.
Because in the
Yeah.
minute,
Oh,
you're like, who are you? Get out of my way.
yeah. I mean, I literally have had people, because I'll tell them, I'll be like, hey, listen, I know this is weird, but I feel like I'm supposed to give you this money. Wait, what? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know what you believe or whatever, but regardless, is I really believe God wanted you to have this, and so here you go. Um, you know, I don't know where you're at in your life or what's going on, but just want to know God must be looking out for you. He must love you because He told me to give you this. And their reaction, they start crying.
Crying.
They'll start argue and they're like, "You don't understand. I've been praying for this and that," and they start telling me what they're praying for, and it's like, there it is. It's like God saying, "Hey, I'm here. Hear you. Hear
Yeah.
you. Here
See,
you
what if
go."
God is actually listening? See, he's
Exactly.
listening and he wants to give you the answers that you're seeking, but you
Yeah.
gotta you have to listen and be open to receiving the message. And you only
Right.
get that when you get quiet and you sit in your stuff.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah,
I'm
it's
not
it's a beautiful
preaching,
thing. No, it's
but
good. That's exactly right. Like if people would literally take the eyes off themselves, even if you had a bad day, whatever, like just take a minute, look around the room, look at your surroundings. There are people hurting everywhere around you. And if you just took a minute, stop thinking about all the stuff you're dealing with and just go over there and concentrate on one moment of making them happy, like it takes care, all your stuff goes away.
it
You literally
does.
aren't even thinking about it anymore,
Yep.
and then the rest of the night you feel totally different you
Yeah.
know and so it's important. People don't realize beautiful thing.
So if people want to find out more about you, about the mission trips, if they want to donate, where can they go and how can they find you?
So I mean, I already raised all my money for this next trip and stuff. I'm good on that right now, but I'm on Facebook.
Don't turn down money for because you could do good with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there is a link on my Facebook that you could go to, and if you want to give towards it, and then that money, because I've already raised up enough for my trip, but whatever extra I raise will go towards the actual trip, and towards the organization that you can go on there and give if you'd like. But yeah, I'm on all social media and stuff like that. You can see kind of my journey if you go past, in the history of my social media stuff, but it's all on there with the cancer and everything. But yeah, it's a journey. It's never ending journey. People think you come to this place where you arrive, and that's just not true. That's just false hope. It's being able to wake up every day and deal with today and knowing that, like, here's the truth about my life. Here's who I am. Here's who God created me to be. And here, what can I offer the world? What can I do today to help somebody else to understand that in their life? And that's so
I just you
important.
you have to feel like you're on cloud nine, right? Because I mean, you shouldn't be here, right? Like you shouldn't be here.
Exactly.
You shouldn't have been
No,
here a long time ago. So like
no.
anytime that you're walking around, you're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
spreading
why
the light."
I just, it's easier to look at life and not get all worked up. When stuff happens nowadays, it's easy for me to not get all worked up and angry because I shouldn't even be here to deal with it. So it's
Right.
like everything is a blessing. Everything I look at is like, man, here's an opportunity to just live another day, and there's more for me to do. There's more stuff for God to do. And so I just want to be available for that. I just want to be open to receive whatever He wants me to do and help whoever He wants me to help.